Good morning, children. Mrs. Frizzle asked that I speak to you about an absolutely fascinating subject, cycles in nature. There are a bunch. Do you know some of the cycles in nature? The water cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle, and the nitrogen cycle. It's the planet working to naturally and continuously cycle elements between different compartments of the environment, like air and water, soil and organisms. The moving of elements from one place to another is similar to when we recycle. But God has done it perfectly. Every single element moves through the cycle from gas to solid to liquid and back again. And if it didn't, we couldn't have forests or oceans filled with life. The entire planet would die, and you would never even see it happening. This is a miracle happening all around us. There must be a way to remember these. What are some cycles in nature? Well, the water cycle should be easy. There's water! And the carbon and oxygen cycles, we breathe oxygen in and I breathe CO2 out, so I would think that it would go something like the carbon and oxygen cycle. And nitrogen. It's a gas, and so what do we think of when we think of gas? Gas. Do you have any ideas? I don't. I'm not sure. What? Gas. Of course. All right, gas it is. The nitrogen cycle. So, what are some cycles in nature? There's the water cycle. There's water! The carbon and oxygen cycle. The nitrogen cycle. The water cycle, also called the hydrologic cycle, involves the continuous circulation of water in between the Earth and the atmosphere. There's evaporation, transpiration, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. So, what are some cycles in nature? There's the water cycle. There's water! The carbon and oxygen cycle. The nitrogen cycle. Oxygen is all around you in the air and water. Plants and animals breathe this in and then send it back out as CO2, which is where the carbon cycle moves carbon in its various forms through nature. Carbon dioxide can be found in the air or dissolved in water. Algae and plants eat the carbon, and in turn the plants are eaten by critters like you and me and the cow. As you can see here, the carbon process is very complicated, and it's very hard to manage the carbon that everything on the planet spews out. That's why the plants are so important. So, what are some cycles in nature? There's the water cycle. There's water! Carbon and oxygen cycle. The nitrogen cycle. And yes, that brings us to the nitrogen cycle. Whoopee! Most life on Earth cannot use the nitrogen that surrounds us in all its various forms, even though nitrogen is 78% of the atmosphere. That's a huge amount. Through a series of microbial transformations, nitrogen is made available to plants, which in turn sustain animal life.
So, what are some cycles in nature? There's the water cycle.
There's water! The carbon and oxygen cycle. The nitrogen cycle. Well done, children. Now, don't get in any trouble trying to repeat all this to your parents.